if you want to make a real impact in the world and you want to develop skills that make you very employable, then you might want to think about studying environment issues. Environment issues are core to a lot of the important challenges around the world. Challenges in how we feed people, how we have sustainable cities, how we manage bushfire, how we manage climate change, and so on. And it's a great opportunity to study environment issues at the ANU, because the ANU has the Fenner School of Environment and Society. And the Fenner School, we recognise that environment issues have got that dimension to do with the plants and the animals and the trees and the soil and so on, but they always also have a human dimension. That's the society part. And we bring both of those elements to anything we study. We have leading researchers in the school that are making a big difference in the world themselves, but also play a role in teaching the courses that we teach. So if you're really passionate about environment, we've got a degree just for you called the Bachelors in Environment and Sustainability. And that's a course that focuses in the Fenner School but has opportunities in other schools. But actually, you might be more interested in doing a Bachelor of Science or Arts, or you might want to study law or politics and still bring some environmental perspectives into one of those degrees. And this approach is possible too. It's really easy if you're doing a Bachelor of Science to choose plenty of environment subjects and mix them up with a few others. But even those other degrees have generally got the flexibility to bring in courses from other schools. And we love having these students in our environment courses too. Either of these options are great, and the ANU is a great place to be doing them. I hope you think about studying environment at the ANU.
Thanks, Pete. Thanks for that video. Welcome everyone to this webinar focused on studying at the Fenner School of Environment and Society at the ANU. Before we get underway, I need to make it clear that this webinar will be recorded and that the recording will be made available after the event. You'll be able to ask questions or make comments via the Q&A tab, which is located at the bottom of your screen. Now, if you do not wish your question or comment to be in the recording, please contact science@anu.edu.au after the event, and we'll leave that email address in the chat window for you to make a copy of. So welcome again to the webinar. As a lecturer in the Fenner School of Environment and Society, I spend quite a bit of time both researching and teaching in the environment and outside in the field. And as part of that experience and as part of our education here in the Fenner School, as well as the ANU generally, I want to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which our teaching and our learning is conducted. In Canberra, in particular, I want to acknowledge the Ngunnawal and Ngambri people and pay my respect to their elders, past, present and emerging. I want to introduce to you a couple of people. We have 3 people joining us, 4 including Pete, our communications officer, who you just heard from at the start, but we also have with us this afternoon Dr. Craig Strong, the Associate Director of Education in the Fenner School. Hi, Craig. We also have Harriet Torrens. Harriet is the Administration Manager within the Fenner School, and Rachel Larobina, the Senior Coursework Officer within the school as well. The basic structure this afternoon, or in this session, is we're going to hear from Craig. Craig's going to talk us through some basic structures and introduce you to education in the Fenner School, how you might go about building a degree and studying within the Fenner School, or how you might include courses from the Fenner School within your degree if you're planning on doing a degree in another part of the ANU. And during that time, we'll also, I'll pose some questions, but by all means, you're also welcome to pose questions using the Q&A tab, and I can raise those with Craig as we move along. We'll also have a look at a few additional videos highlighting different elements of learning within the Fenner School, and we'll wrap up with a more focused Q&A session. The session is intended to last for 1 hour, so we have a little bit of time ahead of us. So Craig, if I can pass over to you now and invite you to tell us about education in Fenner.
Right, thanks. Really appreciate that intro. Fantastic echo here at the moment. So, yeah, welcome to this webinar on environmental science at the ANU Fenner School. So what I thought we might do today is just start to look at exploring how our degree is constructed and also how you can start to feed in or learn about some of the environmental and society issues that we offer here within the school. Any university degree is quite, can be a bit daunting when you first come in. Matt, can you remember your first degree? You know, that when you hit that classroom, it's an amazing world.
I was terrified.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have to admit, I grew up here in Canberra, and then coming to the ANU was sort of home territory for me. But all the same, I felt intimidated simply by walking into the lecture theatre. And one of the things that I was really intimidated by was trying to work out, in the first instance, what I should be doing over the course of my degree. Of course, you know, coming more or less straight from school, where everything had been planned out, and then I was faced with a lot of choices that I had to make. It's very helpful to have some clear view of that. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think that's the issue, isn't it? It's about just trying to navigate your way through. And we're bombarded when you get into university about all of this choice, and the language is different. The course structures, the expectations, they're all changed. So the way we try to build the program or offer our degree here is that the first year is really about just trying to get a feel for what is first year, what's university like, what do I like to do? You know, I think one of the things about environmental science too is that it is such a broad concept. We might have a strong interest in, okay, for me, it's about soil, you know. It's about the little organisms that grow in the soil and on the soil. It's about how soil blows around the landscape. Matt, I reckon you might be interested in something to do with trees by the looks of your room.
Yes, I certainly came into my my undergraduate degree with an interest in vegetation, but really I had no idea where it was going to lead me. So one question, if I were to put myself back in the place of a person coming into the university, is you know, how do I make sure that, you know, I'm not going to miss out on opportunities later, because at this point maybe I just have a general feel that I'm interested in environment. How does that sort of work out in the Fenner School? Is it, you know, do I have to make choices early on that really impact upon my degree later, or is there a bit of time that I can make up my mind and think about it?
Yeah, so the first year program is really designed in a way that we offer a choice of 5 courses, and those 5 courses are about trying to understand and identify what you like, what you enjoy. So it might be more of the biophysical world, or it might be more of the social aspect, the human dimension of how we manage environment and society. So there's always these 2 elements that are working with each other when we consider environmental choices and environmental management or decision making. So year 1 semester 1 is really about thinking, what floats my boat? What sort of things do I enjoy doing? Semester 2 is very much the same as that in year 1. So it's still trying to give you a taster of a whole range of different concepts and different aspects of environmental society. But we're starting to think about, yeah, maybe I might want to think about doing a major or a minor as I move my way through my degree. And then as we move through the years, we start to concentrate or specialise almost what sort of aspect you enjoy doing.
So Craig, can I ask a question then, if we can just go back to what you were just talking to there? You raised that language there, a major and a minor. I can see there in semester 2, you're talking about prerequisites and majors and minors. I have a sense that, a prerequisite would mean I need to do a course, one course perhaps in first year or second year, so that I can do a different course or a course that relies upon learning from that first course later in my degree. But I'm not so sure about this majors and minors. Certainly from my role, I've always wondered really what majors and minors mean, but could you kind of unpick that a little bit?
Yeah, look, that's one of those classic, the language changes now that we're in a different world. So universities use these terms all the time, majors and minors. Think about them as a collection of courses that hang around a particular theme. So a minor represents 4 courses that you study, and then those courses might be from first year through to third year, but they've got a central theme about them. So they're a collection. It might be something like biodiversity science, or it might be policy science that hang together. A major is still a collection of courses, but there's 8 of them that have that common theme or concept around them. And then because you've got 8 courses, they sort of value add each other. So that's probably in brief, a minor has a collection of 4 courses, a major has a collection of 8 courses. We'll come to that in a little bit more detail, and I'll start to show how you can navigate your way through picking those sort of collection of majors and minors that you're interested in your upcoming study. Once you get into year 2, I think this is a fascinating for modern students doing modern PhDs, as opposed to when Matt and I were doing a PhD. The options that are of a degree, the options of study are so broad, in terms of a degree these days. You can pick up courses that might be outside of the country, might be in another country. They could be cross-registering between different institutions. You could be doing courses which are semester-long or what we call intensive-based. So I'm going to throw to Harriet at this point. So Harriet, we here in the Fenner School offer a range of what we call intensive courses. What do they look like? What sort of experiences do students get, and how many do we offer in the school?
So intensive courses are, I think, a really exciting part of what we offer in the Fenner School, and they weren't something I previously experienced before I came to the school. We offer 9 intensive courses across the year, and what that means is traditionally universities taught in 2 semesters, semester 1 and semester 2, but actually the university has 6 teaching sessions. It also includes a summer, autumn, winter and spring session, and our intensive courses are scheduled in those other sessions. And what that means is the students can juggle their load around actually 6 different teaching sessions rather than just 2. An intensive course, apart from the international field schools, which are a little bit longer because they're immersive in country, are typically 2 weeks in duration of face-to-face teaching. And what that really means is that the equivalent content will be delivered for 1 week in 1 day of an intensive course. It's a pretty full-on experience, but it's a really nice and immersive way to get your head right into the content. So we offer them right from January each year up until it'll be from November for next year. There'll be courses in November. So it just means that you can balance your load a little bit more across the semester. And it also means we have more opportunity to take our students out into the field. A lot of our intensive courses feature big field-based experiences, which is one of the real hallmarks of the Fenner School. I don't know if that's helpful, Craig, as a starting point.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you. So to take home for me in that was that you could possibly do an intensive course. So as many students do an intensive course, say in summer, and that means they can do 3 courses in semester and still have a full load. Yep. When we say full load is 4 courses a semester, yep. Which means you just ease that pressure in that semester with only 3 courses, but you're still walking away with a full semester load of work.
So can I just and that sounds to me as though, in the very modern setting in which, as a student you might be working, or you might be taking on other things outside, volunteering, you might be involved in sport, that adds that flexibility in there, or time, so that you can manage your life as well as not just your studies at university as well, simultaneously.
Yeah, our intensive courses are really highly popular, and I suspect that's the reason why, is that it allows people to juggle, real life jobs, families around their learning, and they're also really exciting offerings generally, so people are really interested in taking them.
Yeah, that idea about it being immersive too, I think is so descriptive, because it is. You work usually 9 to 5 days a week in this study, in this course. So how powerful is it to get all of the content, all of the experiences back to back? And so, yeah, I think it's a really powerful way to acquire knowledge and deepen your learning and make it work, to fit around the reality of life these days.
And it's an intensive social experience too. I think that's one of the big benefits of the intensive course, is that you're with a small group of people and you're with them for a very extensive period of time. It's a great way to get to know your fellow students and colleagues along the way in your degree program.
Yeah. Can we touch on that? I think that's a really interesting comment about the size of the course. So what sort of, this is something we probably don't talk about very often. So the intensive courses, what sort of size are we talking about, class sizes?
Well, it really depends on the course. We run a summer intensive called Fire in the Environment. It's actually got quite a limited enrolment, because some of the experiences that the students get to engage in doesn't allow us to have more than 30 students. There's activities at CSIRO where they're using fire tunnels, wind tunnels to create actual fire events, small fire events, to study that. So some courses are quite limited, but other courses such as International Environmental Policy this year had over 70 students in it. So they can be quite a large group of people. Normally anything that's going to a field-based experience, such as the winter environmental field school, it's a bit smaller again, but still 45 students, both postgraduates and undergraduates, engage in those trips. So it's a really nice community building opportunity.
Yeah.
That sounds to me like the kind of experience I had as an undergraduate. I was in a very structured degree, and one of the things that I enjoyed here in particular was being part of the community. And that's a sense that I get that certainly comes from students being involved in these intensive courses, the ones that go to Fiji, or involved in field studies in particular, where they're together for a short period of time and have experiences together. And I think that's a big part of the Fenner School as well, that community.
Yeah.
Back to you, Craig.
Yeah, thanks, mate. I think community is a nice word too, and it leads into, on screen at the moment, I've listed the 5 first-year courses we offer within the Fenner School. Within each of those courses, there would be community building activities. So, either small group tutorials or workshops or field trips. The field trips could be day trips, intensively working in the case of Introduction to Environmental and Social Research, ENVS 1003. There's plenty of field activity where the students are working in small groups. In Australia's environment, we have overnight field trip where the students move up over the Alps and spend time together, collecting data, contemplating the landscape in Australia's environment. Blue Planet takes a trip down to the south coast. Environment and Society moves down to the south coast, and then Sustainable Development have a whole range of small group activities as well. So even in these 5 courses, you're introduced to a whole breadth of experience. The social dimensions in sustainable development, the interactions, how do we operate across the 2 domains, a biophysical domain and then the human dimensions. And then these 2, which are more biophysical orientated, how does the planet operate? How does Australia operate? So we get to introduce all those themes of research that will sit across the environment and the society school. And then ENVS 1003, you get to work with Matt that introduces the wonderful world of statistics, underpinning of science. We need to understand how it operates, how the systems operate, whether they be biophysical or human, and then how do we quantify and demonstrate that so we can communicate that science. So there's a whole range of different first year experiences that are well crafted, thought out, so that you guys get the choice of understanding what you like and what you want to focus on in the future. Sorry, Matt.
It looks like you're going to throw to a video there in a second, or if you have a few more things to say, Craig. I just want to, we can see a few more people coming into the session, and I just want to remind everyone that you're part of a webinar focused on degrees in the Fenner School of Environment and Society. And if you have a question at any point, just post it on the Q&A and we can interrupt our discussion and happily engage with your questions. Back to you again, Craig.
Yeah, so let's go have a little quick trip down through one of our first year courses. Just excuse the narrator in this course. This is one of the courses I run, and these are some of my closest friends for a few years back. We were up here in the Alpine country.
Studying environmental science is about understanding the pieces of the environment, the soils, the geology, the climate, the hydrology. All of these things interact. The field trip brings all of this together. So we want to know what the impact of climate change might be on vegetation properties, soil properties, habitat complexity.
It's hands-on experience. You gain a lot more from a practical perspective rather than in class just looking at your textbook.
The data that the students collect, they then analyse statistically, they then write it up, or they learn how to write it. And these are fundamental skill sets that underpin all science research around the world.
We have to be conscious of the effects of climate change and how we can best adapt to it.
The great thing about being at ANU is that we can take science out of the classroom and go on a weekend field trip. It's a wonderful opportunity to actually immerse ourselves in Australia's environment. Once you can see it, once you can feel it, once you can touch it, you start to understand the processes that we talk about in lectures.
That looks like my experience of fieldwork as well. It's not always sunny weather.
That's right.
Yeah, snow though, occasionally.
That trip's a great trip because you have to pack for everything. We go up in September, and sometimes it can be beautiful sunny days. Had some lovely sunny days up there, and then other times it's a bit like that, a little bit extra cool and a little bit extra wet. But it's a really powerful thing to be able to take that classroom into the field. And here at the Fenner School, we really make a big effort of it to make sure that you get that hands-on experience, because, like that person just said then on the screen, it is a really good way to learn. Now, Matt, I know you try to do that. You think about stats and people will run away screaming at just the thought of it. But the approach that you take is quite different, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. If you didn't catch it, I was on Instagram over the weekend. The Fenner School has an Instagram channel. Also, the Fenner School has a Twitter that you can get engaged with as well. And over the weekend, I was on Instagram out on Black Mountain, in a place that we go to quite a lot. And we undertake quite a bit of field work out there. And the focus of doing that is that we have experienced, other people like me have experienced being taught statistics in an environment where you're sitting in front of a lecturer who's talking about conceptual sort of statistical ideas, and they go straight past you because you don't have any way to apply it. Statistics are a tool, and a tool is only useful when you have a problem to apply the tool to. And so getting out in the field is the number one thing that we need to do. Now, I've got a question here that's just appeared. Question about what are some of the degrees that a person might take on after graduation?
Degrees or careers, Matt?
Sorry?
Degrees or careers?
Careers.
Oh, careers. Yes, great question. So we do have a slide coming up, but maybe let's just throw some ideas out here, and then we'll recap on them when we get to the slide. The Environment and Society degree by nature has both ends of those spectrums. So we have a biophysical end and we have a society end, or a human focus. So what we're doing there is we're actually building skills, and we're hoping that we're working with students so that they have graduate attributes that lend themselves to a whole range of different employment options. So what that means is, we have graduates that move into the science end of the spectrum and become researchers themselves. We have plenty of graduates that move through into the consulting world and have the skills to work across a whole range of domains within the consulting world. So it might be a biophysical type of research, or it could be a human society research, or it could be more into the policy space as well. Plenty of people get graduate positions within government. So you can see on screen at the moment, I've got a list of our majors and minors, and I'll unpack that in a minute. But you can see the words policy come up quite regularly in our minors. And really critically, that word policy is then attached to some other word: climate science, environment, forestry. You could put biodiversity in there as well. So the graduates from the Fenner School are quite attractive within a government setting because they have this good, strong blend of the underpinning science and a knowledge of the policy frameworks that drive. Harriet or Matt, do you want to elaborate on those career options as well?
I just wanted to reflect on it. I recently sent out an email to all of the teaching staff just to ask them to reflect on recent graduates and to send me some examples of what our students are up to. And it might be useful for me just to talk through a few of the things that came back that I thought were really interesting. So currently at the Fenner School, or one of our graduates is working as a sustainability manager for Riverview Projects, who support one of Canberra's latest and largest developments, Gin and Dairy. And as many of you may know, if you live in Canberra, Gin and Dairy is aiming to become a sustainable community of international significance. So one of our Fenner graduates is working there directly in that project. We also have a number of graduates who are working in a consultancy called Sustenio, which basically is a consultancy, people who come together and recognizing that complex problems are rarely solved with simplistic approaches. They come at solving problems for clients from a variety of ways, things like providing services in impact assessment, in research, in auditing, insurance, strategy in government, as well as equity and social inclusion. So there's all kinds of things that are happening with our graduates. We could probably go through a vast list of those, but it's in a way a very diverse degree to do, and it can put you in many different pathways. I don't know, Matt, have you got anything more to add to that?
I do. Very briefly, I would say that a focus on environment and environmental considerations, both biophysical and social, are a growing part of many businesses and particularly large corporations, their focus, because that's, there's a really an emergent focus on environmental issues, and really to try to narrow down to a few sort of career options. As I would have heard of when I was an undergraduate, the options are much broader now. That might be informed in part by the type of degree that you do, and the question that is in front of me might come to that particular question, and that is, what is the difference between an environmental science and environmental studies degree? You can see at the top of that table there. What would be the difference between those two?
Yeah, okay, that's a great question. Good pickup. So if we look at this table, get my mouse on the right screen, we can see here at the ANU we've organised into colleges. So these are very large domains of knowledge, and we have the College of Science, and then we have the College of Arts. So the environmental studies major is run out of the College of Arts, and so really that is a little bit more focused on the social dimensions. So we still, within this major, the Fenner School of Environment and Society has a large number of courses that are built into that major. But in addition to those courses, there are other allied courses that sit and value add it. So the School of Sociology sits in the College of Arts. The College of Asia and Pacific sit in the social dimensions. There are other, the Indigenous schools sit in a different college. And so some of those courses really value add the environmental society courses that we offer, that would be offering in the environmental science major as well. Hopefully that answers your question a little bit. In the environmental science major, what this table is saying that this is one degree, the Bachelor of Environment and Sustainability. It's the home degree for the Fenner School of Environment and Society. And this is a Bachelor of Science, which sits directly under the college. So it's possible to do an environmental science major in both of these degrees. And if you just cast your eye down those columns, you can see where you can pick up a degree within those, pick up a major within both of those degrees. If you were to pick up an environmental science major within this degree, as opposed to the environmental studies within the Bachelor of Arts degree, you would have a greater choice of biophysical type sciences in this particular major, as opposed to the environmental studies. So it really comes back to those questions of unpacking and thinking about, well, what really do I enjoy doing? Am I really wanting to be understanding the fine details of climate operation or plant growth or, water chemistry from an environmental point of view? Or do I really want to understand how can I influence and change science or policy with an understanding of that science, or that climate science? So it's just a bit about those slightly different perspectives of which major you might choose to do. Having said that, there's a lot of scope for choice. If you find you've got to the end of year one, or even to the middle of year two and go, yeah, I really don't like this anymore, there's plenty of option and plenty of wriggle room that you can come and talk to advisors such as Matt and myself, or our professional staff, Harriet or Rachel, who are online at the moment, and you can start to work through the degree and we can start to manage a different pathway. So all is not lost at the end of year one.
Thanks, Craig. I'm looking at the Q&A. It's great to see lots of questions coming in. There are a couple of questions. Maybe I can try to put a few together. There's a question asking around if you're thinking about pursuing a postgraduate degree, let's say, for example, here in ornithology, how would you go about getting a good recommendation around an appropriate degree as an undergraduate? So the question was, what degree would you ask? But maybe we can broaden that insofar as how would you go about getting that information? And then there's another one about degree structures as well. And that is something that maybe is a new concept or a new phrase for people. If you're thinking about doing an FDD, what would that mean? And, you know.
Sure. Good question. So I would say that one of the most important things is to come and have a chat. If you're starting to, for that very specific question about, if you've got an idea of where you want to get to, you've got a goal. That's fantastic, because you can come back and you can have a chat to the advisors, and we can help start to shape and map out, how do I get to that that particular postgrad in blah, let's say dendrochronology. We can start to unpick that and say, well, let's start on a Bachelor of Science and then work our way through picking up a environmental science major, a forest science policy, and maybe there's another minor in here that's really critical. So that's taking just looking at the degree phase. If let's say you don't have a clear goal of where you want to be when you first enter the university, that's completely normal. So don't feel stressed about that. That's where you immerse yourself, get some experiences, learn what you like, and then start chasing that dream. And you can come along and have a chat to advisors, and we'll just start to shape and make sure you're on track.
Coming back, some broad commentary about FDDs, Craig, as well. I'm happy to.
Okay. Yeah, Harriet, do you want to talk about this fabulous word called flexible double degree?
So basically, I really just want to say that probably 50% of our students who take the BENSU do that in combination, so in a flexible double degree. And I can see the question in particular asks, how popular is the Bachelor of Environmental Science and Bachelor of International Relations? I've certainly seen a number of students who have that combination of degree programs as I travel through administering the program. So the thing about the FUD, it offers students at the ANU a vast array of choice. So you're not necessarily going to have a massive cohort who are doing exactly the same program as you, but it kind of doesn't really matter. And that's the point of the FDD. It's to give you the flexibility to do what you really are passionate about. So I would strongly encourage you to consider that. The only thing I would say about the FTDs is, as Craig's has pointed out, it's really important that you come and have a chat and really look at the requirements of those programs. Because in a single degree, you do have a bit more flexibility to change your narrative a little bit more. If you're in an FDD, you're going to find that you're going to have core first year units in both of those programs for the first year. And so you are a little bit more tied down. So it is just good to make sure you touch base with academic advisors. It can be in the school level or in the college level, just to make sure that you're on track. Nothing is unrecoverable at university, even if I say it's tighter. It's just that it is tighter. So I strongly encourage you to, if you're thinking about an FDD, to make use of programs and courses, which is our online handbook at the ANU. You can build any number of combinations of degrees with that system and have a look at what will be required of you in that first year and how you set yourself up to move forward. It's a great and an extremely innovative way to do double degrees. When I first came to the ANU, we had very limited choices, and it really is endless opportunities now. It's a great thing to pull two different passions together. So strongly encourage you to consider an FTD if you haven't already, and lots of your colleagues in the BENSU will be doing a double degree, so you won't be alone in that.
Thank you, Harriet. We've had a couple of questions that are focused on prerequisites or prior knowledge coming into a degree. Now, perhaps how would you go about finding out what prerequisites or what knowledge you should have coming into a degree? My sense of coming into a degree in Fenner is that, well, the entry requirements, once you've satisfied those are the assumed or the required knowledge, background knowledge to move into a degree. But for an individual major or a minor, you know, how do you go about, who do you talk to resolving those kind of questions?
Yeah. Harriet, do you want to?
Well, certainly when you come to, when you get into your programs, we have a lovely week at the ANU called Orientation Week. And what that offers you is an opportunity to talk to all kinds of advisors. For most undergraduate students, we do recommend that you go talk directly to the College of Science advisory team because they're just really well equipped. There'll be days throughout Orientation Week where academic staff are available from each of the schools and colleges for you to talk to. So you don't need to know everything when you walk in the door. I mean, even in orientation, you don't necessarily need to know what you're going, but you need to make some time to go and have a look at programs and courses and use Orientation Week really well to come and chat with relevant academic advisors. Programs and courses is a really simple interface. I really encourage you even now to start having a look and just explore what's on offer. You can see what content's in courses, how double degrees are pulled together. You can look at all the majors and minors and see what's coming ahead, just to whet your appetite and really to see whether you can start to establish what might interest you. And then come and have a chat with us in Orientation Week to set yourself up for the first 6 months of your degree. And I think I keep coming back to it. You don't need to come in with all the answers to university. There's a lot of flexibility. A lot of people change their track. You have up to 60 units of 1,000 level courses in many degrees. That's 10 courses. So you can see that you have a little bit of room to shuffle around if things change or you suddenly find a real interest in something that you didn't expect to. So I guess the key is inform yourself and come and ask some questions.
Yeah, I think the key word there is inform yourself as well. So programs and courses gives you that. So that is a portal within the ANU website. You know, just try Googling it. All of the information about every course and every major is listed in that web face. You can start to map out and be really empowered in making your own decisions. And in there, Matt, there will be listed for every course a list of the prerequisite statements. So it will clearly state that you will need to have completed blah. Now, I know some of the maths courses offered through the College of Science and some of the chemistry courses or physics courses will stipulate some sort of level of year 12 or year 11. Or if in the Canberra system, the college system requirements, so that entry level there. Within the Fenner School of Environment, so within the BENSU degree, so when I say BENSU or Harriet says BENSU, we're talking about the Bachelor of Environment and Sustainability. Within that degree, there is one major that's coming into play next year that has, if you track it all the way back, has a little statement about prereqs. But that's only one out of the whole list that I've got on the screen here at the moment.
Actually, quite a fluid curriculum in that sense.
Yeah, so you as students can be empowered to drive that process of understanding and then come and calibrate with us. Come and check, is this interpretation correct? How do I work with this system?
So the first port of call then, if we had a question, if you had a question about the difference between an environmental science major and perhaps an evolution, ecology and organismal biology major in a different school, or if you're trying to work out the difference between the Bachelor of Environment and Sustainability in the Fenner School or the Bachelor of Science and the Bachelor of Arts, you know, on the ANU, I mean, these are the kind of things that, you know, as a student, I might be trying to work out, you know, which direction. Is there a nice, clear, clean way we can sort of enter into an ANU portal and sort of start comparing?
That's programs and courses. I mean, honestly, that's where you go. I mean, you can build flexible double degrees there and the system will actually map the 4 years of that program or 4 to 5 years of the program. So right. You really clearly the kind of expectations, it tells you where there's electives and where there's non-electives or where there's majors, minors. So if you go and have a play in that system, you'll learn an awful lot very quickly. And once you've been in there, then feel free to come and have a chat with us. Rachel and I are very happy to talk to students at any time, as are staff from the College of Science. We're here to answer questions. That's what we're here to do. So if you want to come and talk to us in the next couple of months before you start your journey at ANU, please do.
Right. I asked that question in a very targeted way because obviously we've had some questions about those things. It's difficult for us as academics within an individual school to have a clear view across all of the degree programs within the university, but that programs and courses portal at the ANU website is definitely, you know, your first port of call, and as Harriet suggests, then talking to administrators and academics within the individual schools.
we're very happy to direct you to the right academic as well. Often we're the most useful people just in patching together the structure of a degree program, but as soon as you want to talk about content or careers or all those sort of things, we'll find the right academic for you to talk to, and they're always very happy to have a chat as well.
Right, and they'd be able to answer questions like, you know, how much knowledge of environment or what background you need to have if you were going into, say, the quantitative environmental modelling major, something like that.
All majors and minors have a convener. So if you're particularly interested or have a question about what we call a subplan, a major or a minor, just let us know and we will direct you to that academic, particularly on content-based. Rachel and I can really deal with structural questions about how you put together your courses. But if you want things about information about content, then you need to talk to the academic, and we can certainly arrange for that to happen very easily.
Right, right.
And just to add a point, Programs and Courses is a live website, so keep checking it regularly. You will see changes occasionally, but you know that's normal. It is a handbook. It has course offerings and a few other things that have a live element to it, so do keep checking.
All right, great.
Can I also add here, you know, we talked about the flexible double degrees. Another way to tackle a degree too is that let's just pick the Bachelor of Science here, but I could be picking arts. You could be mixing and matching different majors within the one degree as well. And also you could almost pick up another major through or minor through the amount of electives. So if you do a single degree, you have often up to 8 courses of electives across the whole degree. If you think about what we chatted before, one major is a collection of 8 courses. A minor is a collection of 4 courses. So it's quite possible that you could be doing a single degree in a different college, and even just purely through the electives within that degree, you can pick up a touch of the environment and society, you know, through one of these minors or potentially majors if you organise it carefully. So there's great capacity to mix and match.
So conversely, you know, if I was interested in environmental matters, but I also was, you know, interested in maybe travelling or working overseas and wanted to pick up some Spanish, for example.
Yeah.
Would I go on?
I really encourage students, particularly in single degrees, to look outside where you think you might be interested and explore university, because it's a really exciting environment. And there are things here that you won't have encountered to study in high school. So it's worth having a little play around, you know, programs and courses. I keep throwing back to it, but all the information is there. It's the easiest place to access everything. Just put in keywords of things that interest you. There's nothing to stop you picking up 1,000-level courses in things that you just wouldn't expect. Languages, sociology, philosophy, you know, broaden your horizons. That's what the 48 units of electives are there for. You can either use them quite pointedly, or you can really explore it and just enjoy the enriching environment that is the ANU.
Well, it sounds like I need to go back to being an undergrad. Sounds with only 12 minutes left to us, I might hand back over to Craig to focus on a few key points that he'd like to focus on in the next 10 minutes.
That's right. Let's just pick up that notion of mapping. And so, Rachel, you assist students quite regularly in helping them map their scenarios. So we've called this scenario 1, haven't we? Where within the BENSU degree, can you just describe to us briefly how people can pull these things together?
Sure. So within the BENSU degree, the only compulsory element is one major. So you can see here that we've got the little star next to the first major. So as a student in this degree, you will need to choose one of these majors to complete the degree. You don't need to make that choice in your first semester or your second, or even in the first semester of your second year. You have a little bit of time to scope these out, but one is required. We then have, under scenario 1, we have the option of taking a minor. So one of these listed minors of 24 units. In doing that, we then have 4 courses or 24 units from the science course list. So they're courses generally within the College of Science, though I think there may be 1 or 2 outside of that, that complement your major or minor, or may just be an interest for you. And then finally, as has been mentioned, you have the 48 units of electives.
Yeah, so in this scenario is one of those classic single degrees. You walk in, environmental resource and environmental management is focused on more of the real world management issues. But you've coupled it, this student's coupled it with an environmental policy minor. So what I think is really important, and that comes back to, this comes back to the question about what careers are available to me. I always, discuss with students about the capacity to tell stories about what their degree has given them. So these titles, resource environment management or environmental policy, they're just titles. Remember, they're talking about grouping things of a common theme. What the students gain from these individual courses, the knowledge they have, the graduate attributes, the skills, the field experience, that is where, as a graduate, you can start to describing what your knowledge is and what your capability is in terms of the new employment option. So, I can't reinforce the power of being able to sit down and at an interview phase and really start to describe, well, yes, we were doing this sort of aspect in this course. My understanding of environmental policy reaches this broad concept because of these different elements that we did. So, how you build these scenarios all feeds into your personal narrative. If we think about a slightly different scenario here, we can have a single major, and then we can start to add, instead of doing a generic science list, you can come back and add 2 minors within the Fenner School. So you get a double collection of environmental and society type courses. These electives, as we discussed, really should be evaluating where you want to be, and like Matt's example of Spanish, absolutely. Or maybe you want to pick up some courses in industrial law. Maybe you can slot that in there as well. Blending different knowledge bases is a really powerful thing for careers, I think. It demonstrates your capacity to take cognate knowledge or knowledge in a particular area and apply it into another area. So that adaptability in a workplace is really important. Scenario 2 is a little bit different in that, we can pick up 2 majors and add that to the electives. So it's all about that multiplication of 4. So if minor is worth 4 courses, major is 8 courses. We can start to mix and match. Now, one other thing that we probably should mention briefly here is this: we talked about flexible double degrees. Within the College of Science, there is also a thing of vertical degrees, and that's where you can start off your undergraduate degree, and then towards the 3rd year, start to introduce postgraduate level, master level courses, and then stay on for a 4th year, and then you'll exit with a bachelor, an undergrad, with a master's degree as well. So that is called a vertical degree. So if that's something that might interest you, it's worth having a little bit more exploration on.
Craig, can I interject with a question? If you choose a major in environmental science, for example, how broadly can you then go with a minor? Outside the school? Is it inside the school?
Okay.
What sort of flexibility is there?
Yeah, okay, so let's go back to scenario 1A. So let's say you started off, you came in with a Bachelor of Environment and Sustainability, a BENSU degree. You've come in and you've selected an environmental science major as one of the majors. And then you can start to choose from you will have to pick from one of these minor lists, and you can see here. Okay, I thought there was a couple more on that list. You can see these are still within the Fenner environment, but this list here is another minor from across all of College of Science. So the science course list, you could be picking up a minor in one of the other schools. But you do have to be, if you do choose that pathway, you just have to check those prereqs again. So if you might want to do a minor in, I'm just going to pick physics or chemistry. Chemistry would be a good blend. If you pick a chemistry blend in here, you just have to make sure that you've done the first year chemistry or that prereq chain up through that minor as well. So there's a little bit of planning that's required if you want to do that sort of approach. But it's possible, absolutely.
Right.
And there is also the electives, which is important to mention. You can take potentially a major, possibly a minor, but certainly single courses outside of the College of Science.
Absolutely. So there's really lots of flexibility. All right. Is there any other questions in there, Matt?
That's everything that we have at the moment.
Let's see if I can scroll down to the last slide and sort of just recapping, I suppose. This is a nice slide to recap. So really big take-home messages, I think. There is lots of flexibility. There's lots of ways to gain more information. The first one is really about you guys accessing programs and courses online. All the information is there. It's just about a matter of picking through and starting to identify what you think works and what doesn't work. Then come and see an academic advisor. That could be at the College of Science, or it could be through the Fenner School if there's specific questions you would like us to answer. First port of call is to come through to Rachel, who then can identify who's the best person for you to talk to. If it's an easy question, Rachel and, sorry, when I say easy, when it's more structural question, Rachel and Harriet are your go-to people. If you've got a really targeted question about how much climate science do I need to know, or do I need an underpinning of highest level maths to be able to do the water science courses, well, then it might come through to one of the academics. We'll make sure that is where you end up.
Based on that advice, can I ask then, Rachel, if I was a prospective undergraduate, how would I find you?
Well, by coincidence, my email address has just appeared on screen. So please email this address. And yeah, as Craig said, we will pass on any academic-based questions to the relevant academic, or possibly college-based questions to the college, or Harriet and I will assist you with administrative structural questions.
Great.
Right. Yeah, and so I suppose then the other really big take-home message is you've got time in your degree. So if you're not a person that hasn't got the goal already pegged out, don't be stressed. You've got time to work through, make decisions as you go. If you are the sort of person that has got it pegged out in the sand, great, excellent. Come and talk to us and we can help map out and navigate and make sure that you're on the path that you need to get to. And I think the other really big thing is just be open to the experience. Take all the options that are available to you. Look at intensives, look at the options of going overseas for a while. You know, university education is about learning who you are as much as it is about what is the content that you're listening to. You know, it's about being open and learning how to integrate with people. Yes, we're all working towards employment at the end, but you know, it's part of learning to work with people is just as important as trying to understand how to count tree rings on a tree.
There's nothing more important than that.
There's nothing more important than that. So yes, you know, be open to the experience, enjoy the opportunity, and don't be afraid to come and ask any of our staff. Back to you, Matt.
Thank you. I'm going to come back to actually you, the person. We've reached the end of our scheduled hour, but if you have any questions and you really just want to fire that question out right now before we go, there's another minute or two that we can address those questions. Otherwise, to remind you of that email address, that fses.coursework.inquiries@anu.edu.au. That's a really important email address. Obviously, you can see that Rachel, based upon the background behind her, Rachel is obviously something like 300 metres tall, so it's hard to miss her on campus. But if you still can't see her, then that email address is the one to contact Rachel on and to start asking questions about degrees.
Please, we're happy to help.
Yeah, great. I can see that there is another question down the bottom. Perhaps we'll go to that question. Really more a comment there. I'm looking forward to being part of the college next year. It's always great from an academics perspective and a teaching perspective to see new students coming into the university. I think sometimes students come into university and see academics as perhaps being a little bit stiff and rigid, but even though we teach statistics and soils, we're more interested in having experiences and engaging with you than seeing you as another cohort of students coming through. It's always good to have new students here. So with that, thank you very much, Craig, Harriet, Rachel, and thank you, Pete, as well. I can see that you're still present. Thanks for that. And again, a reminder, if you have questions, that the fses.coursework.inquiries@anu.edu.au. A place to go to get some answers, and also programs and courses online. Thanks very much. And
just before we go, I'll just say that we've got some other information sessions during the week, so do check out our website, which I've put up there in the chat window, the Fenner School website. Obviously, you can access the actual sessions through the Virtual Open Day website, but yeah, there's quite a few topics which we'll go through. So if you've got something a bit more specific on certain subjects, take a look there. We've also got a podcast for Open Week. So I posted the SoundCloud link there as well, but that's also on our website, as well as a YouTube playlist of various courses which sort of have taken place over this school, if you want some inspiration. So yeah.
Check out the international field schools. Both the videos are up there and they're fantastic. We didn't get to them today, but definitely worth a look. Opportunities to go to both Fiji and Vietnam in your second year of study, often with financial support. So go and have a look at those videos. You'll be blown away.
lovely. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan. Hopefully, see you next year. All right. Thanks, Matt. All right.
Thank you.
Rachel.